3 decades ago, when China launched the reform and opening up policy, China and the European Union almost had no trading relations. But now, the EU has become China's largest trading partner, and China the second largest for the EU. And what's more, according to the EU's latest statistics, the trading volume between the EU and China surpassed that between the United States and the EU for the first time this July. While this all looked promising, Europe experiencing a financial crisis, and many people have turned eyes onto China. But what is this crisis to do with China? And what role is China playing in this crisis? For this week's Digest China, we come to Brussels, the capital city of Belgium, and also known as the heart of Europe, to meet two guests. One is Wei Jianguo, the former Vice Minister of Commerce, and now the Secretary General of China's Center for International Economic Exchange. And the other is Emily Netz, President of the European Liberal Democrats and Reform Party. 最近大家都在讨论，在这个欧债危机中，中国会不会出手援救？那么现在感觉这个问题很敏感，所以首先我想问一下您，这个问题它究竟敏感在什么地方？
因为整个欧洲债务危机啊，它不像其他的一个国家或者是其他一个地区，因为自己的贫困造成的一种财政，它是实际上是一种整个欧盟一个体制，尤其是它的两个原因。第一，体制上面它有着很好的货币政策，就是统一的欧元，但是它没有统一的财政政策，也就是说，欧洲的所有的国家，包括新加入的欧盟的国家，他们自己的借债以后，如果他们的本身国家能力不能够把债务偿还的时候，那么最后买单是欧洲央行，这是不合理的。第一，欧洲央行没有这个给你授权去借债，你去借债，你借债以后你又不顾自己的财力，最后债务又不能还，而且就叫央行来还，实际上就叫这个欧盟的其他富裕的国家来帮你来买单，所以这个是一个非常大的这个缺陷，在政策上面觉得很缺陷。第二个，所有的这些国家里面有个很重要的现象，就是除了它借债之外，还有一个高福利。高福利几乎是差不多，我们看了一看，每届政府都在上一届政府上面增加1到2个百分点，这样整个加起来到现在为止，这个整个的福利已经是很高了。为什么要这样做呢？他不承诺增加，选民就不选他，那么这样这个党就上不了台，上不了台，政府就做不了。因为
一个受欢迎的政府，
受欢迎的，而且你要打出这种高福利的这个条件，大家支持他。在这种情况下面，你叫敏感的其他国家，如果是帮助你，就像我们国家一样的，就算是救急不救穷吧，给你不可能这个解决根本的原因。就是说，我们给你打一个强行针的话，那只是维持一下子。更重要的是，你现在要彻底的改变这样。为什么呢？因为你再不改变这样的，这个欧洲的欧元区里面的整个经济就要崩溃。而且再说，现在希腊仅仅是一个国家，如果希腊这个解决不了的话，紧接着就是意大利。意大利的规模，经济规模要比希腊大得多，所以在这个时候，欧盟应该拿出一个彻底的方案。
那么具体来问，欧洲的债务危机跟中国有什么关系呢？换句话来说，在这场欧债危机中，中国到底扮演一个什么样的角色呢？
应该说，欧债这一块对中国的影响最大是2个，一个就是中国的出口。欧债呢，欧盟是中国的这个最大的出口国。去年我们双边的贸易额达到了4745亿。那么今年由于欧洲市场的这个不景气，订单减少，所以对中国来讲，这个中小企业就没出口企业这个面临了很大的困难或压力。我估计这种压力或困难还会持续，表现在管教会的这个订单，欧盟这一块是很少的，但其他国家是上来了啊。第二，这个时期，欧盟估计圣诞节之前不会再有新的订单。即使是过了新年，我估计第1季度就是明年的1月、2月、3月，订单也会少。 欧盟的这个主权债务危机的困难是一个长期的，对此我们中国要做好准备，出口要尽快的转向其他一些新兴国家。第二，我认为对我们的国家的比较影响大的就是一些我们的合作项目欧洲目前一些合作项目呢，因为要减少预算，所以好多的无论是科研、文教一些其他的环保社会、人文大学这些教育这些合作项目都可能会受到影响。
那这两天我听很多欧洲人说，这场欧洲的危机也是中国的危机。您觉得这种说法对吗？是一种危言耸听呢，还说是确有其事？
不能这么看问题。欧洲自己本身造成这次危机的根源是它的体制和财政政策，以及它的一些高福利所带来的没有这个产业的实体化。所以中国不一样，中国首先目前我们不是说高福利，我们正在解决我们现在一些温饱的问题，我们正在解决我们一些银行更加资产这个优质化的问题尽量解决目前我们的这个经济在某些方面过热的问题。所以跟他这个欧洲这一块我认为暂时没有联系，说不上欧洲的危机就是中国的危机。但是从长远来看，对中国来讲应该看到，如果欧洲这个伙伴或者欧洲我们这个市场逐渐萎缩的话，对中国的出口以及今后中欧两国之间的交往、经贸的合作还是有一定影响，但不会造成很大影响。
如果中国一旦决定比如说要出手援救欧洲，那么您觉得这个中欧双方的这个决策者都应该考虑一些什么问题，在做这个决定之前？
首先呢，能不能还钱，这是首先要还，不然我们筹的钱那还不了也不行，更何况我们还没有决定要投钱。第二，我们对欧盟要有一个通过，要是双向不行，我们可以通过 IMF 或通过这个其他一些国际组织共同来，或者是从第三方共同来作为对欧洲的一些这个救援。所以在这方面，我觉得我们应该说我们国家领导人会考虑这些事情。
Miss Nate, it's my great pleasure meeting you. Well, I'd like to begin by asking you that as a political group leader in the European Parliament, what do you think is the prevailing take of Europe on whether China should buy more European bonds to help relieve the current economic crisis?
Now, when you ask what was the reaction in Europe when we were first confronted with this possibility that eventually China might buy European bonds, well, for those of us like me, if I may say, who know that China holds already quite a huge number of European government bonds, I was not that much surprised. But probably to many members of the general public it came as a shock, because that's not the way they would look at the relationship between China and Europe, still having ideas that Europe should come to the rescue of China rather than the other way around. Or believing that China is growing so big as to becoming a threat. Now, I believe that what we need to do, Europeans and Chinese alike, is to find a new financial order which can provide more security and more stability.
What does Europe think the role China is playing in the current economic crisis?
We know that China is investing in government bonds which are in euro currency. China is much more open to foreign direct investment than used to be the case, and is also, Chinese companies are much more dynamic in investing or looking for investment possibilities in the rest of the world. And all of this has as an effect that China becomes more and more engaged in world affairs.
Well, let's say if China were to help Europe by putting in more money, what do you think are some of the things that decision makers from both sides should be thinking about before making any decisions?
Well, I believe that first of all, if such a participation of China in, for instance, the European special financial system or mechanism was to come about, the conditions and the rules should be very clear to everybody involved. And as of today, I don't believe that is as yet the case, because you can't ask China or expect China to invest in something of which it is not well known how it is going to function, etc. So there must be more specifics, more clarity. That's the first element. Second element is to find out whether or not China would expect or demand or hope for instance, European support in increasing the role of China in the International Monetary Fund, the reform of the International Monetary Fund, etc., etc. So I believe that there should be a very serious and open negotiation. Now, I don't know whether participation in this special financial mechanism is the only. I don't even know if it is the best way of for China and the EU to cooperate more closely. That also needs to be discussed.